Ladies and gentlemen, hello, hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Sherm in the Booth. My name is Sherm. You guys are some true Chicagoans for coming out in January. It's snowing outside, it's freezing, and you're at the fucking club at 1 a.m.
Boys with the bass, yeah, boys, bass.
Who am I talking to right now? You're famous.
Free food, free drinks, music, girls. Let's go.
Do you like it? Cool. You don't? Goodbye.
I'm missing the most important part.
Boys with the bass, yeah.
We should throw like a crazy bar mitzvah party.
This is crazy. Send me stems. I finished it.
What's up, guys? How's everyone doing?
Just wait. You know it kicks in like 3 to 5 seconds afterward.
Yo, what is good, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Sherm in the Booth. I'm, of course, your host, Sherm, and this is episode 244. And as always, we've got another great episode for you guys today. We have a returning guest and dear friend of mine who many of you know, the wildly talented Colton Bachar. And our conversation last year was so well received that we knew it was time to run it back. Colton's experience as a videographer and editor goes far beyond the basic levels of creativity. He takes everything to the next level, and it's been really special to see the work he's been putting out and the people he's collaborating with. We can't help but get deep whenever we talk, and this episode gets straight into it. I know you all will enjoy this from the beginning to the end, and Colton, thanks so much for coming on again, my friend. Let's get into it right now so you guys can hear his story for yourselves. This is episode 244 with Colton Bachar. Of all time. Let's see how long we can go without saying the L word. Like.
Oh no. We're starting it off like this.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, Molly.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back in the booth with Colton Bachar, episode 244.
My goodness.
My goodness is right, bro. I swear every single time, it's like, I know what episode I'm at, but right when it starts, I'll think about it and say it. And now that I'm really getting up there,
Yeah.
people are just like, God damn, dude, that's a lot.
Yeah, you're a true podcast vet.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Professional conversation curator.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that. And my day job is a professional bad news giver.
Polar opposites.
Yeah.
Energy's got to go somewhere.
It does got to go somewhere. It does got to go somewhere, man. But I love talking. I love talking to people. And I can't believe episode 250 is coming up. I'm going to do a live event for it.
Ooh.
Nothing crazy. It's
gonna be good.
Yeah. I want to do something where somebody interviews me and I sort of share my full story and get questions from the audience and stuff like that. I think that'd be a cool way to celebrate it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Like, and it's so easy for us creatives to skip milestones like that.
Yeah.
So I think doing something special, that's earned.
Yeah.
You know?
You do. You got to celebrate your wins, man.
Yeah.
And it's like we were talking about before we went live. Like, it's so hard for us to actually stop and be like, wow, that was awesome. Just literally like that, because especially for you, the events, for me too, let's just say you were North Coast. That day went by like that.
Oh, yeah.
So many amazing moments, but then it's like, got to edit the pictures, got to make the recap video, got to do this, got to do that. How do you actually, like, while you're doing the editing process, which I know you love so much, how do you actually, like, what does it feel like to enjoy that process without it feeling like busy work, I guess?
Well, the sad reality is that over time it does start to feel like a job, and then it's a game between yourself and yourself about how can I do something different or something that is actually interesting to me, because like a lot of times you'll get hired to do something that you've already done before.
Yeah.
But our curse as creatives is that we're always coming up with new ideas, and a lot of times we have more ideas than we have like time and space and money, and the list goes on. So a lot of times I will use specifically even just like gigs with you, because like I know you're down to try something different.
Always.
I'm always trying to come up with like kind of like a new angle or a new I don't know, style or
Yeah.
new story to tell with
Yeah.
you. And so that's why, I mean, it's so much fun, I think, is because we're like, well, not sure if it's gonna be good, but here we go.
Dude, you know what's crazy?
You know?
So I don't know why, but I was have you ever like opened Instagram and you're like, I gotta make a post and you don't know what you're gonna post? Sometimes you end up scrolling pretty far back. This just happened to me, I think it was yesterday. I scrolled all the way back to that event that I did with Jake Shore called Invite Only that you shot the recap for. Remember this was at Clutch?
No
It was like an
way.
event at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday.
I remember
that.
I remember.
Bro, that is when I like really first remember going, fuck, Colton is like getting so good. Like, we should watch it after this. I'll maybe show a little clip so
my
people can
gosh.
see, but like, it was crazy, bro. Like the color grading, how you started it. That was like the first time I had really seen I had seen really cool recap videos, obviously.
Sure.
But I feel like you were really ahead of your time in terms of like how do you tell the story of something that's just as simple as a party?
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
And
thank you.
We've been back and forth so many times about like how much actual live show content do we put in there?
Right.
When for so long I've been getting really into this conversation about like where is dance music at these days and how it's all about the experience and so on and so forth. And it's like when EDM had a big boom between 2011 and 2014, 2015, then clubs started to do really well, right? Because my generation, millennials, you're a millennial?
Elder Gen Z.
Elder Gen Z.
Yeah, that's how I describe it. I'm pretty sure I'm like 1 or 2 years from the cutoff of like, yeah.
Because we talk about the same thing, so I thought you were. So Elder Gen
Either
Z
way.
is a good middle ground. I like that.
Sure. Yeah.
But like, club culture is not dying because that was a culture, but the culture was the music. I think what people misunderstand. Not every
Yeah.
club does it right, but it was all about the headliners, all about who's touring, and all these international DJs and American DJs went fucking berserk. Especially when you live in Chicago, these people are coming 2, 3, 4 times a year. They're playing a festival, they're playing an after party. It was all about who's DJing tonight, right? And then pandemic happened. Slowed a lot of things down, had to get back to the craft, and now I feel like the headliners, like, unless you're really fucking big, like John Summit, Dom Dalla, Peggy Goo, Subtronics, you know, these really, really big headliners, people will go out to see that. But that's why it's so hard to be this middle tier artist, because people feel like it's just not the experience that I want, right? Like, what are you going to do to get these people off of their couch? And it is about the experience. And I think that goes back into why I love working with you so much, because I think people can tell that I give a shit about the shows that I play. Not that DJs don't give a shit, but it is really important to me, especially now going into this year. Like, what is the story I'm trying to tell, and what is the experience and the value that I'm trying to give these people?
Dude, that is everything, though, because when someone knows your personality, you're no longer just a name.
Yeah.
Because, like,
That's true.
Okay, so let's talk about pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic was name-driven.
Name-driven.
Brand-driven.
Who's
like,
on
it was,
the lineup?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was, like, all the big hitters, and you were looking for the big hitters. And I think also part of that culture was, like, everyone knew who the mid-tier people were.
That's true.
You know? But
A lot
they
of people were
knew
on the
their
come up.
names. But they knew their names.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, I like, you know, this headliner, and it just so happens that the person that is, you know, playing before them is someone that I've heard of before, but not like a true fan yet.
Yeah.
And so now, though, I think that only the big guys are surviving without too much personality because there's just so much money behind them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work for anyone that's not like A-list.
That's what I'm saying.
It just doesn't work.
And even at the A-list level,
they're starting to struggle.
Yeah, they are,
Yeah.
because it's very expensive to tour and put on these
Mhm,
huge shows. I
mhm.
mean, when I talked to John Summit, he was talking about his Madison Square Garden show, how he lost money on that because he invested literally $1 million into the production.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know that when you go to EDC, they're charging the artists for the amount of times they use pyro and fireworks
Yeah.
and shit. So a lot
Every
of,
single time.
Lost Lands is probably fucking out of this world, dude.
Well, not this last year. They had a
Well, that's true.
they had a fire ban, which was crazy.
I can't believe they still did it.
We had to do the after movie. So how do you make an after movie
Without any fire?
any fireworks? Yeah.
That
it was
is
a challenge.
crazy.
It was a challenge. But yes, when I found out that artists paid for all of their effects, a lot of things started to make sense.
Yeah, you assume they take home the bag, but then you
yeah.
start to think how many pieces there are to this pie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And for the big dogs, they kind of have this like reputation to uphold.
Yep.
And for those big dogs that haven't built up a personal brand in that sense, they have to lean on those experiences more heavily than, let's just say,
it's really interesting.
I don't know, like a Russ, like some sort of some artist that you know is like very well known, but they're now not under a label, and they understand like how powerful it is to just like show face on camera, talk, show off your personality, show off your ideas, the things you believe in, all that stuff.
His story is really unique too, because he's always been very fan focused.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like I think that's why he's still around. Like, I mean, he was popping when I was in high school, and he's still poppin'. Like relevant. Like not maybe so much relevant in terms of like charts, but that doesn't matter. Like he's still making a lot more money than most artists that are at the top of the chart. Like
that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? Like he just everything for him is profit.
Yeah.
Versus my 10%.
There's levels to this shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just because you're not at the top level does not mean that you're not successful.
And what even is the top level?
You guys hear that? Just want to make sure they hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. Louder for those in the back.
Louder, yes. And Colton has the camera. And I said there's no one better to get the camera set up than my videographer here. So make sure you guys are peering over my shoulder and into this moment with me. It's beautiful. Cheers.
You're sitting next to us right here.
You're here with us. Welcome. And if you're listening as well, you are in the room with us too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Or at least we hope that's how you feel.
I think so. There's a psychological
we're in your
aspect to podcasts that people really like because they feel like they're listening in on that conversation in person.
Yeah, I mean, I've told you before, I'm an avid podcast.
I
love podcasts.
I love podcasts too.
If I'm not playing music, you better believe I'm listening to a goddamn podcast. In the gym, podcast.
Yep.
You know, it doesn't matter. And I like, but yes, you're totally right. You do develop this like really interesting relationship with people that you listen to, like audio only, or you know, just anyone that you listen to for long periods of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to start a podcast. Like, I'm pretty sure this year is the year that I will start my podcast. Yeah.
You have to, man. You have so many great pieces of advice and insights to share and stories. And something I heard years ago was you're an expert in your experiences. And I felt for so long, the great Danny Deal told me that. I felt for so long that I am not qualified enough to share pieces of advice for whatever reason, because I'm not at a certain level or whatever, people that I look up to.
Sure.
But the fact of the matter is, the more stories and experiences that you do share with others, the less mistakes that can make, because that's how you actually grow. You learn from other people's mistakes or your own, you know, but I don't think you have to learn from your own mistakes. Like I also used to say, gotta make mistakes to learn from them. What if I just learn from other people's mistakes and don't make that mistake instead? Like, it's okay to make mistakes, obviously.
Sure.
But we live in a world where there's so much information out there. So me, as someone that has a lot of experiences and has shared a lot of these experiences with people, I now feel more qualified than ever to start sharing this stuff. And when I did like Chicago Music Nexus, it was really eye-opening for me, because the people that came up to me afterwards, and even this panel I did at Soho House about monetizing your brand, I can answer all these fucking questions. And I'm like, that's a good answer. Like, I'll ask a question, I'll go, that's a good question. I psych myself out sometimes, you know? And it's a weird thing. And I share that because I think there's a lot of creatives out there that feel afraid to, because there is a lot of bad advice at the same time, you know? But I was like telling people, like, if you feel like you have something to share it.
Exactly. And then that doesn't hurt anyone.
No.
Like, I think it's, even if you're just starting out and you just learned to do this new thing, there is no reason you can't go and teach that thing that you just learned to someone else.
Fuck yeah.
And
completely agree.
They don't even have to be less experienced than you or anything like that. They can just be someone that doesn't know how to do that specific thing.
Yep.
And it's really powerful. And I totally agree with you on like the whole learning from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I mean, talking about podcasts, I've listened to so many podcasts, whether it's YouTubers, whether it's artists, whether it's videographers, photographers, doesn't matter. Anytime that they were able to surround themselves with people that had similar values, ideas, beliefs, and like attitudes, 10 out of 10 times those groups of people grew way faster and at a higher quality than anyone else, because they were, when one person in the group makes a mistake, now no one else in the group is going to make that same mistake.
Oh, true.
And it's just like a compound effect, where they're just slingshotting each other like, further and further and further.
I love that. I didn't even think of it like that. And speaking of groups and communities and stuff, I'm in this group text with all the Hood Poly boys.
Nice.
Literally after North Coast, we started this group text called HP Party Support, which is now called HP God Mode Soldiers. You know how Sue is. One day,
no one better to give it a name.
All right, boys, I'm changing the group to HP God Mode Soldiers. I'm like, what happened to Party Support? But this group has been so great because, first off, there's always like 2 or 3 people on standby in the group. Like I could text right now and be like, yo, what up, boys? 2 people would be like, what's up?
Yeah.
So like people are always there for you. And there's like,
That's awesome.
owl producers in there who like live in the night. But it's been so cool because we're all sharing our stories of success and failure as well. And also like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What's your experience like with that? Or music making advice, for example, as well. Yeah. So I feel so connected to everyone else in this group's success and also failures as well. And we're all learning and we're all really leveling up quickly because of this camaraderie. So I know exactly what
That's
you mean.
amazing. Yeah. And it could be like, it could be as simple as an Instagram or a TikTok update.
Yep.
Like, because that truly does change the dynamic of how everyone would operate on a daily basis. It affects everyone's brands and pages and all that stuff.
Yep.
And just knowing that, even a month in advance, like, let's say you're super active and that's 30 posts. Dude. That could have done better had you known about the update.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, and a lot of times you get those like ghost updates where it updated but didn't tell you what really changed, and that's when you lean on like your group of we're all nerds and we're all deep in the weeds of what's going on, and someone has to know.
Someone has to know. What
Exactly.
about the videographer community?
Oh,
Is
man.
it like obviously you're very in deep now and of course an inspiration for so many too, but talk to me about, like, I don't even know if we talked about this in the last podcast. We might not have. Like, was it hard for you to feel like you were a part of the videographer community?
I'll start kind of like on a smaller scale. Okay. So growing up in Brookings, South Dakota, like it or not, a lot of people in the Midwest, like small towns, it's isolating. No matter where you're trying to go, where you're trying to do, it's super isolating. Sure. So immediately, I guess, like, as I was kind of, finding out what I wanted to do creatively, or like what even interested me creatively, that I quickly realized that there wasn't a community that could support the hunger I had for figuring out how to do it.
Okay.
So that kind of led to me, all right, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go out of state. I'm going to find a completely new community, and just test the waters again. And
I can tell you guys, I went to Colton's wedding. I was lucky enough to officiate it, which was amazing, by the way. A lot of these people are still there. Great people, of course, but they're still there. We're like the city kids.
Yeah. No, really. And they look at me as the city kid.
Right.
Which is so funny. But yes, it was extremely difficult, especially in the beginning, to find a community. And what's funny is, like, my community, for the majority of like me, like, coming up in Chicago, was like you, Flynn, Sherm.
True.
Or, jeez.
I'm Matt and I'm Sherm. Nicole.
Yeah.
There's two.
Yikes. Yeah,
I love
so-
it. I'm a huge presence. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll redo it. We'll do it.
Okay.
So coming up in Chicago, a lot like my early community was you, Flynn,
Yeah.
Nick,
Yep.
Eric, like
Yep.
all the boys, the Chicago boys, like that was kind of like my community. And then as I started to do more for you guys, I started to meet others, whether it was at the club or, you know, in the photo pits or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason why I was so attracted to podcasts.
Okay.
Was like there was these people out there that had the information that was interesting to me or that could be applicable to me, and I didn't have anyone to talk to about those topics.
Yeah.
But there was someone that could be in my ear for the next hour and a half, and I could learn a ton about the industry I want to go into.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of like slowly understanding culture, building relationships, of course, in real life, but also online.
Yeah. Which is very, very important.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to have both. Got to have both.
You do.
And eventually, I think it kind of just all collided to where you find yourself, especially as a creative or an artist, you start to feel kind of like what's the word, like connected or drawn towards like certain artists, certain creatives because of whether it's their style, their personality, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so for the first first part of my career, I was drawn to people, and then eventually people started becoming drawn to me as well.
Yeah.
And that's when like you can really start to see the growth in terms of, you know, just technical skills, but also like relationship skills, business skills.
Damn,
all
that's
that.
really interesting, Colton.
Yeah.
The way you said that made a lot of sense. I've never really talked it out, and that was like right on the money. Like you were originally the person that was drawn to you, you know, and that's when you know that like tables have turned a little bit. You've leveled up.
Yeah, and I think being so for anyone that whether you believe your circle is bigger or smaller, whatever, or you're starting out or you've been doing this for years, I think the most important thing that you can do is just always be open to either coming across someone's work and being like, where has this person been my entire life? This is incredible. And like, you know, you feel like an emotional connection because like they created something that you find really inspiring and moving. And then you also want to be open to the people, because like you're going to create work yourself and people are going to be attracted to that. Sometimes, well, most of the time, creatives like to downplay the importance or like the weight that your work can like have on another human being. Yeah. So you have listened to your own song like a billion times, right? And you're just over it. You don't get the emotions that you had originally or that you had hoped, you know, all of those things. But someone else has just listened to that song and they are stoked. Yeah. And super, super pumped and thankful that you made that song. And they're going to hit your DMs or they're going to, you know, try and connect to you some way. And I think it's just like really powerful to try and meet people like where they are. Cause I don't know, it's like, it's definitely flattering, but like I said, sometimes we downplay how much of an impact we can have on another person. So when they come to you, I think it's just so important to just like embrace them. Yeah. And like, be just really open to, you know, even if they don't necessarily go about it the right way or whatever it is, like I still think it's you got to be open to it.
Yeah. Damn. You do. You do.
Because otherwise your circle just stays the same or you're no longer introduced to new work and new creatives, new conversations. Like you start to kind of like shut yourself off. And as soon as you start to like cut off like inbound information in addition to maybe not so much looking for inspiration anymore, I think that's when like growth starts to like significantly slow.
Yeah.
So it's like, for example, this is stupid, but I'm 27 years old and one of my biggest fears in life is like getting old.
Okay.
And so for a long time, so for a while, or for the majority of my career, I was resistant to, let's just say, like new technology or new ways of doing things, or even just like shortcuts. I was like, if it's going to be the best video ever, I have to do everything manually and I have to do it all myself. And
You sound like an old man already.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying though, is like, especially with the rise of AI and stuff like that, like, recently on the Lost Lands After movie, that was one of the first projects where we sat down with the team and we're like, we're gonna use a lot of AI, just not because it's not because we think it's cool. Like, okay, yes, AI is cool, but how can we elevate the piece? How can we, help people feel something even more, or bring them into that experience more? And it doesn't matter what the tools are, but we decided that, like, we wanted to challenge ourselves, use AI, see how it could enhance our process and ultimately create a better product.
Yeah.
And some of the results were crazy. Like, and not to like continue to ramble, but here's another example.
Keep going, bro. I'm interested.
So for example, the last 3-4 years, I've been on the Lollapalooza media team.
Yeah.
And
sick.
in my opinion, during those, like specifically the last 2 or 3 years, I've got to sit down and work alongside what I believe to be two of the most talented live event videographer, VFX, all the like Swiss Army knife creatives in the world.
Name drop,
like,
bro. Who are they? And you?
Yeah, Jackson Wigger and dude. His Instagram is Transition Ninja. His name is Peter. I don't know if I know how to pronounce his last name. So
Transition
Peter.
Ninja.
Transition Ninja.
I've seen you share his stuff, or
he's goated. Peter is the goat. And then you have
DJs don't know each other's names either, by the way.
That's all right. That's right. Well, I've worked with him and met him a ton of times, so I feel bad now.
That's
but
okay. We have the ability to edit
but
that. Yeah.
Every single time that I sit down next to them, I learn something new. And every time I sit down next to them, they're using a new software.
Damn.
Every single time. It does not fail. They're always using something new. Always learning. Always progressing.
That's a little intimidating almost.
And like, I mean, for God's sakes, dude. Jackson is in the middle of producing the intro videos for all of the artists that are going to win Grammys.
That's nuts.
And this will be his second year doing that. And he's
producing it.
He is directing it. He is like sitting down, doing interviews. He has an entire team
This
of
is the biggest artist in the world.
all of them. Yeah, I mean, last year, what was it? Billie Eilish, or not Billie Eilish, sorry, Travis Scott, who used to be Hannah Montana? Miley Cyrus. Dude,
say Hannah
names
Montana.
Are the, if you guys learn anything on this podcast, it's that I cannot remember names.
That's okay.
All right.
People won't be mad, but I am going to tell Hannah.
Luke Combs, like,
yeah,
all those artists were like were a part of last year, so who knows this year, but yeah, they're in the middle of production right now for that.
This is your partner. This is your collaborator.
Yeah, someone that I look up to, and he's 23.
What?
Yeah. He's 23. Yeah, that's the thing though, is like that's it, but the funny thing, like, and I'm not gonna just like start saying everyone's ages, but like that.
No,
but like
that's good to know.
That is the power of just not letting new things scare you, or letting new things prevent you from growing. Like this is a kid who's been a sponge since who knows how long. He's decided that this is what he wants to do, and now he's a master of so many things, to the point where now he just, if he wants, he can just direct and not even touch a computer. Nice. But he's put in the time, so now he has the language to talk with the people that he's working with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all of those things. So
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like that's the power of just being open to new things, new people, new ideas. Like you can't ever like just stop learning.
So true.
You know?
And I think a lot of times, especially in the music world, we see talent and we mask the feeling of jealousy or almost spitefulness because we're upset that we aren't at that level yet, especially if you do know that they're younger or whatever it is.
Yeah.
On the come up together, whatever it is, regardless of like the age differences or whatever. And I think we all probably feel that way at one point in a creative's career because
without a doubt. Yeah.
Look, I said in the beginning, right? Like we both said in the beginning, like, you know, not everyone is going to be the next Billie Eilish or these massive artists like we're talked about. But you have a feeling one day that you'd like to. And then you realize that that might not be your path. And you have to understand, what is my path? You don't know the end destination. In fact, don't even get too specific about that. But really tap into, like, what's the purpose of all this stuff? Like, what value am I giving myself? Like, who am I serving? Like, just what's the fucking point? You know? And if you can get past all of that egotistical stuff and the jealousy and realize that you're actually surrounded by people that are trying to accomplish the same thing, and that's not necessarily winning a Grammy or being the most successful touring artist in the world or whatever it is, but you're people who are building a career in the music industry, and that's pretty fucking cool. And instead of trying to wait in line or cut somebody, why don't you turn around and talk to them and realize that we're all at a big fucking lunch table together and we're all loving what we're doing, and there's so much to explore and learn from each other.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Well, and I think, unfortunately, for a long time, the culture has been like, you're my competition.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I know.
And you're the person that is in my way to like have a successful career. And if I crush you,
literally,
I will be successful. And that's so not true. Like, it's so not true. There's plenty of work to go around. There's plenty of ears to go around. How many billion people are in the world? Like, and these are multifaceted people who love more than one genre, and like, you're not just competing against like your fellow artists, you're competing against every single person that has an audio file on Spotify, Apple, and SoundCloud and YouTube. Like, and that's not to deter anyone.
People don't even know actually how much competition they really have when it comes down to
it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, have you done the research? Do you even know?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so why are you?
Because they only compare themselves to these big artists.
Yeah. Don't like, just, you gotta have just that humble energy of, no matter how big you are, introduce yourself, like, be a person. You know,
have they ever, like, I know you know this, but when you actually talk and get to know the true, genuine big artists, they're the first person to tell you that goes, I can't believe this is all happening.
Yeah.
Like, to an extent, you're not in control of the success. All you can do is put your most genuine, original self forward and know that whatever version of that is you is what is really going to take you the distance to continue to show up and love what you do every day, rather than I'm trying to be as successful as I can. I just was talking to my friend Rewire about this, who's the A&R for Stereo Hype, which is James Hype label. So he's like, him and James Hype are like really close, longtime homies. And he was like, dude, James is just like a normal guy. Like, I'm not saying that in a bad way, but like, he's just a guy who like loved what he did. He worked really hard. He built a great following. He shows up every single day because he loves what he does. And it's easy to say that. It's even harder to actually do that. So you got to make sure that you really are. It comes up every time on this podcast, dude. Like, do you really love what you do, and are you doing it for the right reasons?
Absolutely. And I have the most respect for an artist when they do come up to me or someone in the room and introduce themselves.
I love that shit.
That is, like, I don't care who you are. Just walk up to people.
Yeah.
Be, friendly.
Yeah.
Be someone that brings that energy to the room. Like,
yeah.
And those big artists, like, they have teams. So if they're acting that way towards a stranger in a green room, their team culture is probably pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's what videographers should be looking for when working with an artist is, how do you treat the people around you?
Yeah.
What kind of energy do you bring to these events? What are you like on stage? But more important, what are you like in the green room with the people, whether they're strangers or whether they are on your team?
Yeah.
Like those are underrated moments where you can see like the true side of someone, and at the end of the day, you get to choose who's your client or not. It yes, they're giving you an opportunity, but you still have the opportunity to say no.
Have you said no to big artists before because of their energy?
I have gotten into situations where I've been working with big artists and then realized that is not the energy I'm interested in.
Okay. So
continuing to be around.
A lesson learned.
Yeah, and it's not nothing crazy happened or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was a situation where I was like, "You're willing to work a lot harder than I am." like there's some DJs out there. We've talked about it last time with the whole touring thing, and I've got like for example, speaking of Jackson, we did a tour run in Germany and where else? Amsterdam. So we went to Amsterdam, and then did 2 shows in Germany with the Chainsmokers.
Sick.
And that is a different beast. Like you really start to when you start moving with like artists like that have a schedule as intense as that.
Yeah.
You realize that like you really have to want that life.
Yeah, you do.
You really do. I'm more interested in like a specific amount of time in which I have to work really hard, where I know there's an end in sight, and then I can breathe and then go do it again.
Okay.
So like that's along the lines of understanding yourself as a creative or an artist, and like knowing what work lights you up the most, but also what environments you thrive in. So like that environment, don't get me wrong, we did our job. Everyone was very happy.
Yeah, of course.
But would I do that? Like, would I stay on tour with them for any extended period of time? Absolutely not.
That's crazy.
And that has nothing to do with them. That's just a me thing.
I understand. No, for sure. And I think that's what I learned last year. I really like it. It's weird because like on a much smaller scale, I speak similarly to what these large artists talk about, which is like putting myself through the ringer. And as great as it all is, and as much as I enjoy it, it really takes a lot out of you. And last year, I don't think I could have done one more thing. And now, yes, it wasn't like just that 1 year I've worked really hard. I worked really hard for a long fucking time, 10 years, to put myself at the 10-year mark. Okay, things are finally happening now. And it feels strange for me, just a calling from above to say, I think you need to take a step back, like I said to you earlier, in order to take 2 steps forward, because I now have all these contacts, these resources, these skills, but I've never given myself the chance anytime recently to just let inspiration come to me. And I know that it can come at any time, but I was put in a position where I only had so much time to be inspired and to be creative. And for me to have to sit down at my desk and that become a task or a job, it was bad, dude. I get inspired when I go to stand-up comedy shows when I don't have a fucking anything else to do that weekend. Yeah. I get inspired when I go see my favorite sports team play, the Indiana Pacers. I get inspired when I get to read a book and I don't have anything else to do that night, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I realized that I was multitasking too much. I was like going full on David Goggins, bro. I like stopped smoking weed. I was limiting my drinking. Even Maya was like, you gotta fucking chill. Like, I love that you're this like driven and wanting to do all this stuff, but like, smoke a fucking joint, dude. Like, come on, like relax, dude. And I was like, and I thought about it. I was like, oh fuck, like what is this me? Is this me? So it's like, I think we all, as artists, as entrepreneurs, creators, whatever it is, it maybe more so for me, like who has to put a real face to this stuff. And I'm interested to ask you about that too, because there's a lot of videographers out there that do turn the camera around a little bit. And now it sounds like you're wanting to do that, which I think is great, because you do have so much information to share. But it's really hard because there's 2 stories, in my opinion. There's the artists that, like the Avicii documentary reminded me of this. There was Tim and there was Avicii. And then the blending got completely crossed and he lost himself. Yeah. For me, I feel like I can't be Sherm the artist and not Matt Sherman the person, because I do feel like they are the same. So what I have to do is do a better job of Matt Sherman still being Sherm. You know what I mean? Rather than Sherm taking over Matt Sherman.
Yeah, that's actually crazy. I wrote after listening to a podcast with Tom Noski.
Mm-hmm.
You know him?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah,
No,
for sure. I think I've
okay,
seen
yeah,
a clip
he's Australian. Yeah.
Yes.
He had this amazing quote. He said, "Videography is a part of your brand. It is not your brand.
Yeah,
it's a part. It's a piece. It's all a pie. All these slivers of things that make you is then the brand or the artist or the creative. Like, and too often we think videography, you know, in my case, is my brand, but that's not true. I'm not just. No one is just one thing.
Yeah.
No one is just one thing.
Yeah,
and you know, a lot of I feel like a lot of Instagram gurus and all that stuff. They're saying the riches is in the niches. To a degree,
yes,
that is true.
Yeah.
Like you do have to specialize in things in order to become really good or enter that top percentage where you can charge more than everyone else and become like an industry leader, but like that is only one piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so true, dude. I know, and it's like it's crazy. You talk about being scared to get old. I definitely that resonates with me, bro. I felt like I was in a rush to be successful, and I don't know why. I just think I got really caught up for a few years in it.
I don't think that's a bad thing though. Like
not,
especially when you're coming up, you kind of need a little bit of. You can afford to grind it out a little bit more than now.
I have no regrets. I mean, I don't think I made a wrong turn ever. Honestly, I think I just had to do certain things. It's weird. It's like for years I worked hard to get all these cool open format gigs in Chicago.
Right.
I go to this, I go to that, I meet this person, and I do all that. And the second that I finally start getting all these gigs, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do these gigs anymore.
That's how it goes.
But what I realized is what I thought I was trying to get, which was these gigs, I didn't realize that I was actually really improving my DJing ability.
Yeah, you're putting in reps.
And
you're getting
I was
your reps.
putting in reps, bro. I was getting to the fucking gym,
Yeah.
And now when I DJ, I am not afraid. You know what I mean? Like I know exactly what to do, and all those years of repetition have like put me in this position.
Yep.
But I think like that's a good point, Colton, and thanks for reminding me of that too.
Definitely.
I wasn't in a. I don't know how to really explain it. I really wanted to be successful because I had chips on my shoulder for many various reasons. And that's just kind of the person that I am, loving sports and competition. You're in the biggest competition with yourself always. So it's like, how can you also be your biggest cheerleader? I think that's a really, really hard thing to do. But now in my wiser days, things are a little more clear about what's important. And to bring another reference in Caitlin Clark's Time interview, the most famous woman in the world, probably the same as fucking Taylor Swift, right? So much scrutiny, but so much success. Yeah. She could have let all of that stuff get to her, dude. But she said, she was asked that, why didn't it get to you, basically, or how'd you get through it? She said, all I care about, the only opinions I care about are the people that I love and the people that I surround myself with, my teammates. And I thought, I never even really appreciate the love and support that I get, or all of these moments that I get as much as I should from those types of people in my life. And it really opened my eyes to like really practicing gratitude and like just opening my mindset to what I already have, and like how you always hear like, be grateful for what you have, not what you don't have. Yeah. It's really hard to do that as an artist because we want what we don't have all the time. Which is like the double-edged sword of this fucking world we live in too. And not just being a musician or a videographer, but everyone wants something that they don't have. So how do you actually put yourself in a position to get the things that you want or want to have, and then be grateful for those? Yeah. Wow. That's some deep shit. That was some deep shit. That's always me and you, dude. But, and I love it. Me too. I love it. Going back to Tom Noski, this is crazy. I wrote another thing on my whiteboard. Anytime I hear like a podcast or some really good quote that I think is like relevant to like the season of life that I'm in, I'll just write that shit in the big ass letters. And on this one
this one specifically is related to that, where it's how do you do the best job that you can? How can you create the best content, the best music, the best everything surrounding your business life, but also take care of the things that mean most to you, family, friends, things like that. Tom simplified it really, really well. He said you need to have enormously low expectations and high output.
That's wow.
So
that just amazing.
Means, so that means every single time you press like post, you just need to assume that that's only going to be seen by one person. And then if it gets seen by more, fantastic. But it doesn't matter because I'm going to put one out tomorrow regardless.
I fucking love that so much.
Like, so I think, and like, so it's a different way of thinking about success. It's not numbers. It's not money. It's none of that. It's just like, I'm going to do what I do. If people like it, great. If they don't, great. Mm-hmm. That's it. Fuck. And you just keep staying true to yourself. Keep making sure you're taking care of the things that are most important to you. And that's what I think gets lost a lot of times.
Yeah,
is these are the things that are most important to me, but I'm gonna neglect them for the career.
Yeah,
and I don't like. That is a part of music culture that I really strive to change.
Yeah, me too.
The group that I'm a part of, Kurza, later, Kurza, life-changing stuff. Incredible group of guys. Speaking of people that are like-minded, for example, we're doing one-on-ones with all the core members.
Cool.
And I've already warned them. I'm putting together a goddamn slideshow. Like,
let's go.
Like, yeah, you guys are people that I've looked up to for almost going on 10 years now. Yeah. But there are a lot of improvements that can be made, and I'm gonna tell you my opinion and the way I think things could get better.
Also, it's like a performance review almost.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, without any, there's no like repercussions. It's just you know what I mean? It's feedback. Just like, it's good feedback. It's positive, healthy feedback between, the people that run these teams, the people that produce all of the events and stuff. It's just, how can we be better? And like, arguably, Kurza is an unbelievably talented group. So like, some of these guys, I believe most of them, if not all of them, are world class, and there's no reason why we can't continue to elevate, and continue to improve and grow. Yeah. And like, if you're never told that the way you've been doing things for the last 10 years or however long you've been doing it could be done differently, then you're just going to continue to do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like, right away when I was asked to join Kurza, I was just like, guys, I just need you to understand that I'm going to say what I'm thinking. I'm going to be very blunt with you. Yeah. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it, because similar to, the way I think about artists is like their peers, and like, I don't really, the name itself doesn't matter to me. It's just you as a person. Yeah. And part of the reason I'm with Kurza is because of the people. Like everyone on the team is just on the same wavelength, very like similar energy in the way that we move, communicate, create, all those things, come up with ideas. And that's when a healthy environment is created for people to say things that they wouldn't normally say because they're afraid of hurting someone's feelings. Yeah. And it's not about like hurting anyone's feelings or tearing anyone down or anything like that. It's just purely about, how can I, like, when you have that type of communication, the group will inevitably benefit.
That's just holding each other accountable in the most positive way possible.
Absolutely. And I think that's,
I love that, dude.
That
makes me want to do that with people.
Dude, Seriously. It's very, very important to, like, even like with your friends. Like, I hold you to a standard, and you hold me to a standard.
For sure, we do.
And that has resulted in us doing things that we never imagined we would be doing. You know what I mean? So like,
we have an awesome
like,
life because we hold each other accountable.
well,
That's
and
true.
but without that, like, I don't know where we would be, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like if I wasn't brutally honest, you know, with like you and the people around you and the way that things are being done, like there wouldn't no change happens. You know?
And it can be
Like,
really hard too. I think a lot of people are scared to be critiqued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially by
Yeah.
people that are close to you. You know, like
Yeah.
Maya has been, she literally works in corporate strategy, right? Like she knows what makes a brand successful. She literally knows the numbers. Numbers have something that I've always been a little afraid of because, as you know, like when we did the whole Chicago handshake, rollout, product, like all the numbers that came out of that, I was like, wow, holy shit, dude. It's good to look at the numbers. And I learned that, but you know, sometimes you get advice from peers, but it's like almost getting advice. Like if the doctor says to eat better or your parents say to eat better, you're like, shut the fuck up. I don't care what you have to say.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, you listen to your buddy, right? So it's like, it's trying to mature and find the line of like, this person has almost not a biased perspective, but they actually have your best interest. And in order to get the best out of you, they have to be honest.
Yeah.
And you have to be honest with that feedback. And again, everything with a grain of salt. They may not understand a process, but it's good to have that conversation. I found myself for many, many years getting defensive when I would get advice. And not necessarily right away, but later to myself. I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about, you know?
Yeah.
I do this, I do that. But when I really thought about the advice, I'm like, that's really good advice. And I think that would be something that I would encourage for creatives, especially in the beginning too.
Yeah.
Like, I know one of the things we wanted to talk about is like, how do I actually level up my brand early on?
Yeah.
And I think it's by getting advice. And I think it's okay, in my opinion. I know a lot of artists specifically have brands that they're trying to roll out. You know, there's a big difference between fucking Mala and Logan Paul, for example. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not obviously not both DJs, but completely different brands.
Apples and oranges.
Apples and oranges, right? And I think every brand is apples and oranges. There's differences. And I now, more than ever, regardless of who they are and their size, like I'm interested in knowing, especially if they follow me for whatever reason, what is it that I'm giving to you that you enjoy and how could I do a better job of that? Dude, you know what I mean? I think it's okay to ask. Everyone acts like they have to figure out what people want. What's wrong
without asking? Yeah, they think that they have to be like a mind reader.
Dude, you don't have to be a mind reader.
You just ask them.
No, and then like we're doing this with Hood Politics right now. Like we have tens of thousands of emails, Colton, from people that have downloaded our SoundCloud edits over the years for free. So we have all this incredible data, and now we're like, what do we do with this? And we're like, okay, how do we? What's the first email we send to them? Yeah. I said, why don't we just ask them who they are, where they're from, and what are they interested in? Then we whittle down the people that actually responded, and then we start to separate these people into, are they a fan? Are they a DJ? Are they both? And why don't I ask them, what is it about Hood Politics that you like so much? I love your shows. I love your merch. I love your music. And just keep getting tighter and tighter onto what does a Hood Politics fan look like? Yeah. And who are they? And where are they from? Yeah. Because these people want to be asked those sort of things. You know what I mean?
Everyone loves talking about themselves.
Exactly,
so ask them,
dude.
Ask them. They're going to give you everything.
Yeah. So, like, it's important that you have a very clear idea, and it doesn't have to be perfected because you're going to change these things or they're going to grow. Unlike, again, who you are, what's your purpose, and what is your product. You know, it doesn't have to be so business-oriented. And then you do that for a year, and then you start to get some feedback. And I think after that first year, once you start to just put some shit out, and I mean, you know, we said make mistakes, like whatever it is. Yeah. Then you're really going to have the chance to grow, and you could be the 23-year-old director before you know it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And if you want to just strip it all away on a micro level, it's just small iterations over time.
Yep.
So we talked about, you know, how I craft my Instagram and like TikTok bios, right? And that's constantly changing. But so is every other part of your brand. It's constantly changing and evolving because as humans, we're constantly changing and evolving. We don't stay the same. So your interests can change, your brand can change. It's
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
And
It's okay.
but you got to start somewhere, right?
Got to start somewhere. I know. And there have been so many new DJs that have reached out to me about, like, I'm at like square one, you know? They're like, I just moved to Chicago. I just graduated college. Like, what do I do? We're making music. You know, they're doing all the bare bones things. And I really love having those conversations because instead of me actually giving them advice, I just start asking them questions. And I would recommend that anybody do that. You start asking yourself those questions. What am I trying to do? What am I trying to do? Right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I think my biggest thing, always, and I've said it many times, is like, what is the purpose and who you're trying to serve? Because if you really want to deliver that value, it needs to be not so specific on the long-term goal. Like when I say, one of my goals, of course, is to like DJ Lollapalooza. I think that's actually too specific of a goal because I could get to that goal quicker than I thought. Maybe, you know, because I don't know how long that might take. Might take a year, might take 10 years. But if I think bigger and make it a little bit more purposeful, I want to make an impact on the city of Chicago and the community that makes the city so special to me and leave something after I'm gone.
And one of those stepping stones would be
Lollapalooza. Exactly. So like think a little more long term and make it spiritual to an extent. You know what I mean? Like what's going to connect you to this mission or this goal that you have? And listen to me today, bro. I'm like a fucking preacher.
I love this. This is fantastic, dude. I think that this type of conversation is what needs to be happening all the time.
Yeah.
Like in the green room before you go on the stage. Like
I know.
Let's get deep. Let's talk about some shit. Like you know what I mean? Like, and the beautiful thing is we find ourselves in environments surrounded by strangers all the time.
Yep. And this is what they're thinking about.
Yeah,
everybody's thinking about the
deep shit. Yeah. How do I grow? How do I get to where I want to go? How do I make money? All of those things.
Yeah.
Like we're all thinking it. We're all going through it.
Yeah,
you know.
I know.
So I don't know. Yeah, that's like we're all just human, trying to make it through, trying to figure it out.
So true. What about in the videographer world, and maybe not even photographer? Like, because I do think there are big differences. We talked about this last time.
Yeah.
Let's say you are at 1 or 2 years into videography. You're working with a few DJs. You've had some cool opportunities. What is like that next level? How do you actually achieve that?
Okay, so the next level, number one, similar to what we just talked about, is where do you want to go eventually? Yep. Because everything leading up to that is going to decide where you go, you know? So it's okay, so I'll just talk about myself. Yeah. I was working with you, working with Flynn, then friends would reach out to you about working with me, and then I would work for them. And then it was just, you know, it was probably about, I don't know, at least a year and a half of just consistently, like we were running every venue in Chicago. Or it seemed like we were just all over the place.
And then the venues hired you, right?
Yeah. Then the venue would hire me. Right. So I think once you get to that level, it very quickly becomes so that's like a local level, right? And then so the next step technically would be like regional, and then after that would be like internet or national.
Same as a DJ, bro. Honestly,
right? Yeah. So I didn't necessarily think about it when I was in that situation. Like I didn't necessarily think about it like that, but I followed kind of the same process of, okay, I went from a small town. I went to a little bit bigger town. Yeah. Then I went to Chicago because that was the biggest market. I knew, okay, if I want to grow, I got to be surrounded by people who are better than me. I need to be surrounded by people who know more than me. So it's once you've found yourself in a bunch of rooms with a bunch of people that know more than you, you soak up that information or that are better than you. You soak up that information, you apply it. Now we're bouncing all over Chicago, all these venues. How do I find those people that are better than me and know more than me? How do you do that? Naturally, you have to go to a bigger stage, both literally and, you know, metaphorically. Like you have to go and find that stage that is one level above. For me, Thankfully, Chicago like has been unbelievably just gracious, I guess, in terms of opportunity.
It's been resourceful for you, bro. You've went out there
Yeah.
and found a lot of these
Yeah.
opportunities.
And for me, the door opened when one of my videographer buddies got hit up, who's his name is Matt, and he was mostly in the like Latina community,
Mhm.
and he was doing like all of that videography stuff in Chicago. He was like the guy for that
sick.
culture.
Yeah.
And so naturally, when Sueños got started, then the guy that was creating that team brought him on, and Matt and I were talking on a regular basis because we were both
Oh.
running the clubs,
Yeah.
like doing our thing,
Right.
and we'd run into each other all the time, and
course.
we were just talking and texting, and
Yeah.
then he hit me up and he's like, "Hey, this guy that brought me on to a festival is looking for more people to shoot. You want to do it?"
Mhm.
And that was the door. And I don't listen to Latino, like reggaeton, any of that kind of music. But
Yeah.
for fuck's sake, I ran through that door.
I love that.
Ran through that door.
Yeah.
And you have to, it's a delicate balance to know when to run through the door.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a very clear cut moment where it's like, I've shot, I can't even count how many shows now. So, and I've shot as many, there's only a couple venues in the city that I've never shot at, right? And then it's like, I've never shot a festival, and now that opportunity is in front of me.
Mhm.
I'm absolutely going to take that. I have no idea what I'm doing. No idea what I'm signing up for. No idea what my role is. I don't care what I get paid, but I'm going to try this new thing and try to figure it out. And that snowballed into everything that I do now. Like, if it wasn't for that door opening,
Yeah.
I would have probably like waited for like the Lala door. Then the Lala door opened, and I absolutely ran through that one as well.
Yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
like just keeping your ears to the ground, making sure you know who is who. Like, for example, to go back to your question about where you're kind of that mid-tier videographer trying to
Yeah.
get into that next level of maybe traveling like around the United States.
Mhm.
If you're following artists and you know who their videographers are, find a way to meet that videographer while he's in the city, while he or she is in the city.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really easy way to connect with someone who's already doing what you want to do,
Yep.
who's probably better than you at what you do,
Probably,
and
yeah.
has the knowledge because they're doing it right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, these people are constantly around us. We just don't know where to find them.
Yeah.
So keeping your ear to the ground on socials,
Yeah.
knowing who's coming into the city
So true.
and when, and then finding a way to at least
Meet them.
have
a moment.
meet them, even if it's for a brief second, even if it's a 2-minute conversation, doesn't
Don't you
matter,
feel like
or
people
for
are more
coffee or whatever.
Yeah, more receptive to actually meeting you than one might think.
Yeah, I would say so. You got to approach it correctly, though. I think.
I wanted to talk about that approach.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah, like, well, how about this? I've been talking a bunch. You want to talk about some moments where you've been approached incorrectly?
Yeah, good question.
Okay, here's now what to do.
Oh God.
Here's how
I've-
not to approach
I've
an
been
artist
a-
in the DMs.
I've been approached, not
Okay, DMs and in person.
videographers. I haven't had bad experiences with photographers, honestly.
Okay, that's good.
You know, if you actually look around this room, Colton, there's a lot of photos from you, of course. Did you see that one, by the way?
That's new. Wow.
Isn't that sick?
Damn.
We'll get a picture of that. I know it's fucking fat.
That's
But there's
amazing.
photographers from a bunch of different people now that played in all these different cities. So it's
Yeah.
really cool when I just like look around in here and think about the amount of photographers that I've looked at
That's cool.
or worked with, I should say.
Yeah.
And I have a profound respect for photographers and videographers because you guys are serious hustlers. And I've talked about this a lot. Like, you guys are serious fucking hustlers. And they work harder than DJs. I don't give a fuck what people say because when we go home, we go to sleep. They start working and we expect that shit in the morning. Like, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. So I wanted to give photographers and videographers their flowers. when it comes to approaching me in the wrong way, let's say someone wants advice in the industry or they want to get a gig or they want to meet this person, just not being cool. Like literally just like getting straight into it, like without even being like, hey Sherm, I'm this person. I know, like find a mutual, please. Like, and if you don't have a mutual, tell me you don't have a mutual and really give me like an idea on like who you are.
Yeah.
And
Like, sure, this is what I want.
yeah.
Like that's how they're approaching you. It's just like,
well, yeah,
I want this from you. Give me this information.
exactly.
Okay.
And I'm like, look, man, that's just I would just won't respond. Like, and here's my greatest weakness is I don't like letting people down. It's also a strength, I guess. But it's like,
Sure.
even if I don't know them, I like feel bad about not responding. And I just feel like I've been approached in so many bad ways that I'll literally say that this wasn't the approach. And
Oh wow.
I'm trying to think about like specific ways that I've been approached, but like a lot of people assume that I'm gonna give them what they want, and it's like fucking buy me dinner first, you know? Like honestly, and not literally, but it's like if I don't know who the fuck you are and you expect that something is gonna come out of that, then it's just not gonna happen. And I'll say it's happened a lot with hood politics as well. Like if we have a relationship and I know who you are, and I don't get back to you in a certain amount of time. It's like people expect things of me. And also I think people expect things of others just because they're ready for it now when the timing just isn't right.
Yeah.
When I approach people, even now, whatever it is, I come in genuine, professional with examples.
Yeah.
Like if you're serious about whatever you're trying to get from me, and I don't mean it to be so serious, but like ultimately, yes. Then don't make me ask any follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Like, send me your EPK. Give me a link to your music. Like, tell me what your intent. Like, I do want people to be direct. I do want them, like, when people say, hey, what's up, Sherm? Come on. I can't start a conversation right now, dude.
buddy.
It takes me 10 business days to respond to my best friend sometimes. You know what I mean? And I'm not proud of that. But like,
and it's not like we don't want to talk to new people. It's
no, I
just,
do. I do want to talk to new people.
Exactly. That's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Is like when someone sends you a DM like that, and then we get upset, they're confused.
Yes.
So this is why we're trying to.
And this is just online. I feel like
DMs specifically, because that's just
DMs
that's an everyday thing that we all deal with. I feel like.
Yep. And I'm a very email friendly person. I really prefer to email. It's definitely a good way to get a hold of me. And you know, it's just when I'm on the computer, I'm operating. Now, if you approach me in person, I will say that I'm gonna be much more receptive because I know that you're serious, especially depending on what event it is that I'm at. Especially if it's an event that I'm passionate about, like Chicago Music Nexus, for example. Like, everybody showed up to that. Like, you're a real one. I know you. I remember you. I want to help you because you showed up for yourself. And that's what I said in the intro to Chicago Music Nexus. Like, I want to remind everybody here, regardless. I'll never forget what I said. If it's your first day, your 10th day, your 100th day, or your millionth day in the music industry, I want to thank you for showing up for yourself because you care. And those types of people remind me of me because I waited in line 2 hours to talk to Danny Deal for 3 minutes. And now she's like a great friend, you know, and those are like little examples that so many of these DJs that I've met, like I just was patient and I waited for the right time. And I think a lot of people are rushing towards, again, like they want this now.
Well, and I think there's also a misconception that any advice that we can give you will just fix all your problems.
Yeah.
And that's not the truth. We can give you as much advice as we have. We could talk to you for hours on end, and until you take action and actually go out and do the things and put in your reps, like nothing will happen. It's just words into the ether. Like
there's just a lot of bad salespeople out there. You know what I mean? Like not just really actual salespeople, but like people in the industry that didn't do the research on who they're reaching out to. They found out one thing that they could get or know, and they went straight to the point. And it's like, again, buy me fucking dinner first. Like,
oh my God. Dude.
And I don't know, man. I just think, and right ways to approach are as simple as not having the intention of walking away after the first time wanting to get out of it what you went in for. knowing
Yeah.
that some of these things cultivate over the period of years.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do, it's so much better and more genuine for you and whoever else was involved. If it's a large group, you know, like let's say you're trying to play North Coast, for example, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm involved in North Coast, and I love what they do. And they, in my opinion, do a great job of showcasing local Chicago talent. And when people ask how they can get involved, I, again, will say, how do you want to be involved? I kind of flip it a little bit, you know? Well, I'm this artist. Like, how well do you really explain yourself? Like, I'm not looking for an elevator pitch necessarily, you know? But it's like, what is your purpose? Like, I make music. Here's what I do. I do this show. Like, what's different about you, you know?
Yeah.
So I really like when people, and it's hard to do, and I'm the first person to remind myself and others of that. Like, it's something that Olivia is very passionate about as well at Chicago Music Nexus. Like, we talked about how hard it is to actually network. So we wanted to give people that space. Like, not everybody is the extroverted Malort drinker, weed smoker like me. You know,
It's
that can, like,
awkward and
literally
weird.
talk to everybody,
Yeah.
you know? Like, it's
Yeah.
not like... I get that, especially musicians who a lot of times their language is their music. So
Huge.
I understand the challenges that a lot of producers and creatives in general face when it comes to the in-person networking, which is why if you want to reach out to someone, I love to meet up with people one-on-one. That's why I love the podcast.
Yeah.
I think that I can always... make time for that for the most part. And if you're serious about it and you show up, then I will too. Like we said, if you make it in the Google Calendar, it's going down.
Exactly. Yeah, dude. Hey, Google Calendar is my roadmap.
It's my fucking roadmap, dude.
All right, so let me spit some crazy game.
Let's
right
hear it,
here.
let's hear it.
All right. So So I'm gonna literally break down how you, as a upcoming artist or an up and coming videographer, photographer, can build a relationship with someone that you idolize right now.
Shoot.
First, you just start by being active wherever they're active. So let's talk about online. All right, they're making posts. Like the posts. Comment on the posts. Simple. All right, I can't remember what business law it is, but I know it's like people are most likely to buy after seeing the name or seeing the advertisement. I think it's like up to 7 times, right? And so if you want to build a meaningful relationship with someone that you admire or aspire to work with, it's little touch points over time. It's not about asking them for anything right away. At first, you just got to show support. Be their number one community member. Be on all their posts, being like, this is amazing. Thank you for being inspiring. Like, whatever it is, right? And then from there, jump in the DMs. Maybe it's a specific post that they made or something they said on their story that really hit you in a place. And you're like, hey, man, just so you know, this meant a lot to me, so thank you for that. That's it.
That's it.
You don't segue into being like, by the way, you should hire me. Or, by the way, can you get me a gig? It's thank you for putting out what you do because it keeps people like you and me inspired, right?
That's a great way to put it, dude.
Then, like, you want to go one step further. Let's say that person is traveling and now they're in your city. You've already set up all the touch points so that they know who you are. They recognize you. They're more likely to open up the DM. And then you'll be like, hey, I live in this city and I know you're going to be there. Would you be interested in like getting coffee? I would love to pick your brain about X.
Yeah.
Right? They might say no. In that situation, perfectly fine. You wait for another opportunity to try, or maybe even, okay, let's go even more subtle. Let's go less direct. Let's go, you know they're going to be at this venue at this time. Buy a ticket and show up.
Yes.
Just buy a ticket and show up. And then send them a DM or comment on the post that they make after the show and be like, yo, I was there for that drop. That was sick.
Yes.
That was there for that moment. Like, that's how you develop a real relationship over time with a complete stranger, is you slowly introduce them to yourself. What happens is each touch point is just proving to them that you're not weird or trying to take advantage of them.
Yeah.
So it's just slowly becoming a normal person to show up in their different circles. And once that happens, and again, don't be weird about this. just do it because like you're a genuine fan of the person, or you're a genuine like you're inspired by them, or whatever it is. Like
dude,
that's my 2 cents on
shit.
developing relationships with complete strangers that could then change your life forever. Like,
and dude, literally you explaining those things reminded me of all the people that have done it right and are doing it right in the way that I've done it as well, which is not like immediately jumping the gun.
Yep. Dude, our mutual friend, Nick Masseth.
Yes.
I hope I said his last name right, but
you did.
Nick is the perfect example.
He is.
That dude just shows up to every show, is in the comments, the DMs. He sent us questions for the podcast. Like,
he made this hat.
He made the hat for me, dude. That's insane. I got a whole bunch of them at home. Like, let me pull up some of his stuff too, because he did ask some specific questions. We already talked about like different creative advice. Okay, this is a big one. Nice. Oh, dude, shout out Nick, man. This is what happens. Like, so to give you guys context, Nick was originally one of Sherm's super fans and just bought tickets to everything.
The man, he came out of nowhere.
Just bought tickets he was always in the front row, jumping up and down. I was filming Sherm's shows, and this guy was always in the front row. Pretty soon, I was like,
"Who is this guy?
He's at every show." I don't understand. But I was like, before I even knew who Nick was, I was talking to Sherm as we were on the come up and like trying to like figure out how to like build fan bases and stuff. And I was like, that kid is a perfect example of what you want your fans to be and act like, and energy and all that stuff, and like just overall a good person. Now he's my accountant. Nick is now my accountant because we've developed a relationship. We like, and it's just hilarious. It's so random, but that's a perfect example. And like that's the beauty of like just not approaching someone with that with the intention of taking, and instead it's approaching someone with this like an energy of like, I want to give you as much as you have given me.
Dude, I've never felt like he ever wanted anything from me, and I literally gave him my old tractor controller. I gave him huge drop box of music, and he is someone, and I wanted to mention this too. Be the person that follows up.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people that ask and they don't follow up, or they don't keep following up because I don't think they really care as much as they think they do.
Or they don't want it as bad as they say they do.
Both. It's both. And let that be a cautionary tale for the people that do decide to go to these things. Wait, or decide that they got their fill or whatever. Like, have that intention of when you go to these things that this is my goal. This is who I want to meet. I want to make sure that I do that. And I have that experiences on small and very large scales. And I can tell you both are as important. And I am that guy who fucking follows up.
Yeah.
And that is the reason that I am where I am today. 100%. And that is the greatest piece of advice that I can give anybody. And Terry Hunter, Chicago house music legend, who we had on at Nexus again to bring it up. He said, be the person that follows up. He said 1% of people follow up. And I agree.
Yeah, dude.
Crazy.
And I think that's one of the reasons you and I get along so well.
We follow up. Yeah.
We don't let each other forget about anything.
We don't.
We're just always like, hey, just see you tonight. You know, even if it's like something small. Like we're always just like, like whether I need something from you or you're just like, this is what I need for the show. Like, we got it. And and we're constantly communicating so that there's no question about what you're doing, what I'm doing, what I need, what you need. It's very clear, like healthy communication, and I think that's like super powerful when it comes to two creatives working with each other. Because normally, creatives are very bad.
So true.
They're good at communicating through their art, but we're bad at communicating like real life or maybe like just through text or something. Like it's unfortunately, those are two different muscles, and you gotta exercise both of them.
They are
You know?
two different muscles. I know.
You know,
It's based on that. That
man.
comes from based on interest in that reach out in that moment. And
yes,
I always try and be attentive to that stuff.
mm-hmm. That's good. That's
when
good.
iPhone finally gave us the ability to mark messages as unread, everything changed for me.
Oh, dude.
Because if that message is still unopened,
Mm-hmm.
or I'd swim my email, that shit will be acknowledged.
Yep. Yeah. If it hasn't been opened, that's because we're putting aside time.
Yes.
To give our full attention to when we open that
Exactly.
and respond.
When I call
correctly.
back, I have the time to talk to you.
Exactly. And that's how I treat, like, for example, like Instagram DMs. Like, sometimes my DMs will get out of control, not because there's a bunch of people messaging me all at once, but it's because I have not had the time to respond fully.
Right, exactly.
And I don't want to respond just like half-ass.
Yeah, 100%.
That's like
completely agree.
That's the way I treat it, anyways. So
I agree.
yeah.
How does your wife feel about that? Your
About
like your responsiveness to things. She like it?
Oh, well, sometimes I choose to be really attentive to the person in the DMs while she's trying to talk to me. And that gets me in trouble.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Maya will
she-
say, I'll just wait. I'm like, fuck, what am I doing?
I know, dude. Every time I'm like, just one more second.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, I'm like, I could have just waited.
Yeah, I could have just waited.
But I wanted to pivot the conversation just a little.
Yeah.
I know this is your podcast, but Nick did ask a really good question.
Yeah.
He was talking about how do you go from hobbyist to like full-time creative? And like that's a really loaded question.
Yeah.
But
it's a good
is
question.
there a way we could like break it down? I'm trying to think. So I would say
like full time as in like this is my full time job?
yeah, I would say let's just say we're going to go from zero
Yeah.
anything. You've got this itch to start being creative, right? And then how do you go from that to building it into something that could potentially one day support you? So like what are those like initial things that could be like really helpful for someone?
For sure. That's a really good question. And that was actually one of Nick's questions that he was emailing me about, which was going from this controller that I gave him to really investing.
Gotcha.
And I think that's when these levels start to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing audio only. Let's just take Sherman the Booth, for example. I think
Yeah,
that's a good way
this
to
is
tell
great.
the story.
Yeah.
It started as me just recording it on my room. I was using a microphone that my mom gave me that you plugged into your phone.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. And it was just
This
me.
is good. Bootstrap.
Yeah, bootstrapped. And I just
Yeah.
really, I loved radio and TV personality and stuff. And I always wanted to do a podcast. And part of the stuff I went to college for was that. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to do it, you know? And I think that's the first step is just saying, I'm not afraid to just do it and put myself out there. Did about 10 episodes of that, and then I was like, I want to start interviewing people. So I started interviewing my friends. First person was Tony, actually.
Wow.
Yep. And then it became an interview-based podcast, and I really enjoyed that. And then I started talking to people outside of my circle and inviting people to come over. Meanwhile, we're still literally sitting next to each other talking out of a microphone from my phone, funny enough. But I was really enjoying it. I felt like a reporter, sort of.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I got to get 2 microphones. I'm going to bring people to my place. It's going to be a cool experience. We're going to hang out, right?
There you go.
I invested in myself. I spent money on something that I was enjoying. I think a lot of people, and again, I'll go further into this when I continue to tell the story, and stop me if you have anything that you feel similar about, probably like upgrading your camera and stuff. In fact,
Exactly
that
so.
reminds me when Alex Schenberg told me that you took out a fatty fucking loan
Yeah.
and you really invested in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How much money was it? Can you share that?
I took out a $25,000 business loan. Yeah.
$25,000 business loan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
I spent $10,000 on taking my video equipment from photography cameras where our friend Tony would have to watch the interviews and stop it and start it every 30 minutes on 3 different cameras.
Yep.
To spending $10,000 on the cameras, the audio, and all that stuff to say, I am taking this seriously. Not saying you have to spend $10,000 or maybe even
No.
$25,000, but there's levels to it.
No, and a note there is this whole time, did you have another source of income?
I did. At my job. My day
Exactly.
job, at my day
Exactly.
job,
Okay,
yes.
so let's be clear here.
That's a good parallel.
You need you. This is advice I did not take. was jumping off the deep end without a job.
Yeah.
That is not advice I would give to anyone. Like, you will go through hell regardless.
Yeah.
Without having some sort of, financial backing, like some sort of stable income to just pay regular life's bills.
Yeah, food, rent,
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that needs to be taken care of first. That's number one priority. Unfortunately, that stage in the creative process is focused on survival.
Yeah.
And then
So true.
and your creative outlets are usually put on the back burner. The people that end up surfacing and growing that to something more is, one, they have the drive, and two, they're just, because they have that drive, they're putting in more time on the back end.
Yep.
So they're taking care of all their responsibilities, but then when everyone goes to sleep, they'll stay up a couple extra hours or a lot of extra hours
In your case,
to
for sure, yes.
continue to build and grow this side thing.
Yeah.
And so it's really just an allocation of time and also just letting people around you know that this is something that you're going for. And maybe normally you go and hang out with friends on a Thursday or Friday night or a Saturday night or whatever, but maybe you stay home that weekend to just like grind on the creative stuff or learn more about the creative side of things.
Yeah.
So that's where I think you can then get to a point where you're like, hey, this creative thing's kind of taking on a life of its own.
Yeah.
And then you can start to kind of devise a plan to see if it's possible to take it full time, or even just make some money from it. It doesn't even have to be a livable wage. You can
That's
still,
true.
I mean, dude, you still have a job.
Yeah, I do still have a job.
You still have a job. And that is not a negative thing. I
No,
feel
it's
like
not.
people are like glorify I do this full
Marketing
time.
artists, yeah.
And okay, you want to be able to say that, but at the end of the day, like some of my friends still live with their parents, and I was like, I always ask more when they say that, because they could have a plan, and a lot of times they do, where they're saving a ton of money.
Yep.
And they got their job and their stability on lock, and then they're doing the other things on the side to eventually make that change.
Yeah.
Make that
true.
shift.
Have a plan.
You gotta have a plan.
Have a plan.
Yeah.
That's great, dude.
Yeah.
That was a great. God, we're on fire,
Dude.
dude. Literally on
Oh.
fire. I agree. I think that, in my opinion, when it goes from a hobby to a passion to a career, well, you should always be passionate about your career if you can.
Sure. Don't put any pressure on
Yeah.
yourself. Like,
Yeah.
while you're prioritizing the job and life,
Yeah.
there shouldn't be any, like, you're naturally gonna want to put a bunch of pressure on yourself to make that side thing the main thing as
Yep.
fast as humanly possible.
Yep.
And the reality is that will turn you into like not liking it.
Yep.
So you have to be you gotta treat that like your special me time where you get to like
Yeah.
just focus on something other than what
Yeah.
life is normally,
Well, that's what I always say. Like,
full of.
the job takes away from music, yes, but it also gives me the opportunity to put more into music without the pressure of it being my financial stability, because I feel like when the art has to be the income, it's really easy to lose sight of having fun with it, because there's figures
And
to that shit.
I've had some dark days
And it's tough,
because
dude.
my creative outlet was also my job.
Yeah, and you're doing shit you don't want to do.
And you do a ton of stuff you don't want to do. And then if those things work, now you're headed down a path that you didn't even want to go down in the first place, but you
Yeah.
have to, because it's what makes you money and pays the bills.
Sure.
So that's why it's so important to just only, like, let that passion be a passion until it's going in a direction that you also feel passionate about. Because as soon as your side project or whatever, your side hustle, whatever you want to call it, now has like monetary pressure and just like people telling you what to do with your art,
It's
like
tough.
all of that stuff, like clients, like can you imagine you have a side hustle? So okay, here's a perfect example. A client rips apart my video, right?
Yeah.
Just rips it to shreds.
Awful.
Would you rather that be my side hustle? Like, would you rather be me if that's my side hustle or if
Yeah.
that's my main thing?
Side.
Exactly.
For
So
sure.
because then it just like it doesn't carry as much weight.
Yeah, that's true.
But when it's your everything, and a client is being a pain in the butt,
Yeah.
now not only do you have to deal with that just to pay the bills, but now you don't want anything to do with it because now the client's ruining it.
Yeah.
In your eyes, because you were the creative, you came up with these ideas, and then
You
if
hear
they
these
don't like
stories all
them,
the time, too.
now they're snuffing out that creative light or that spark, and you
Yeah.
need that spark in order to thrive as creatives do. Like we thrive when we're able to just like take our idea, no one has any say, and we just put it out there.
Yeah, I
And
know. It
it's
feels
like,
good.
and it's just like, that's mine.
Yeah.
I made that
Yeah, yeah,
from like my ideas and thoughts and
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And like,
What was the quote earlier that you said about the Australian guy?
Enormously low expectations,
Yeah.
high output
See,
equals success.
That has
That's
been
the-
my unknown recipe underneath it all. Whether or not I follow it every time, because that's what I felt like. And yes, there is a lot of truth to people that are able to go full-time creative, but I feel like that sliver is what those people compare themselves to, and it's really, really difficult. And I do think that it is more than possible, of course, but you have to set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I agree with all that. Enormously low
Expectations,
High output.
high output. And that is your only focus. That's your North
Yeah,
Star,
yeah.
is like, I'm creating these things because I care about it.
Yeah.
And then if someone sees it, great. If they don't, great.
Right.
It's still a win because you put it out,
That's so good.
you know?
That's so good, dude. God.
God damn.
Well, last question.
All right.
How is married life?
Oh, man. We just crossed, 3 months.
Damn.
2 days ago? Yeah, 2 days ago. Just crossed 3 months of marriage.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Shout out
yeah.
to Cheyenne.
Yeah, that's my girl.
That's great, dude.
My wife now. Yeah.
Yeah, how does it feel saying that?
That's
Let's see the ring, dude.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's
That's nice.
yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm at the point in my life now where it's flattering when someone goes, "Oh, you're married? How old are you?" I'm like, that makes me feel really
It
good.
does, especially in the music industry, dude. People are like, "You're married?" You're like, "Okay, so you're like normal." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm normal."
Oh man, no, it's been wonderful though. I don't, in terms of everyday life, nothing really
Yeah, you're already
changes,
living
but
together, right?
it's nice to just you got that person in your corner, your
Yeah, you
rock,
do.
to just like, maybe they don't have any idea what you're talking about, but they're there for you, and that's all that matters. It's just like, and
dude.
that's, you just need someone that you can lean on, that's going to be honest with you, and
Yeah.
that's what Shy and I have, and I'm really, really grateful for that. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah.
Well, if I can give you any perspective or
Yeah.
advice, it really only continues to get better, and the bond, it strengthens in unexpected ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
of course, valuing love languages and quality time, whatever it
Sure.
is. I find that it's a challenge in the best possible way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's my main priority is, as I say, my little family.
Yeah.
We both have little families.
We do. Yeah,
And
man.
that's the beauty
it's so
of it.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. There will be moments where for sure I'm like, yeah, I think we understand each other a little bit better after
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
'Cause whatever it is.
Yeah, and the difficult moments are easier because you know that there's so much more to life, and it's
Bigger
That's-
picture stuff.
yeah.
The small stuff still gets to you, though.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god, like my fucking nose hairs, dude. She's constantly fucking calling out my nose hairs. I'm like, I just did them.
Oh my god, dude, leave him
Leave
alone.
my nose hairs alone. She can hear us right now, probably.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
That's funny though. Everyone has that stuff though. It's so I find it
I'll call you
entertaining.
out. I do.
Oh, yeah.
I laugh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I always laugh.
Yep.
You gotta laugh. That's for sure.
Yeah, dude. If like, cause like I'll shave. Like I shave quite often, but if I don't and like I poke her, she's like, shave your beard. I was like, I don't even have one. Like, don't tell me what to do with my
It's
body.
always the hair. Yeah, don't tell me. There you go. Yeah, that's ironic.
Let's not go there.
Well,
Yeah.
brother, this has been amazing again. For
Thank you for
anybody that
having me.
made it to the end, thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Colton is such a special guy and one of the most talented people I know. I'm so excited to work with you again on Friday. And lots of great pieces of advice in this one, dude. And dude, we got on our preacher shit. Like we talked about some real stuff today, as always.
Yeah,
I
hope
hope
you guys
start
enjoyed
that
it.
podcast soon.
Yeah, I'm going to.
You
It's
have
gonna
a lot
be
to
like
share, man. You really do.
it's gonna be like I'm annoyed when people just put out like a 30-minute podcast. I'm like, come on, like
We want more.
more. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
think we got
try.
at least an hour and a half. in.
I know.
Always. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm gonna try and do 30 minutes solos
that's good.
and see how that goes.
Yeah,
Just like get a
those are
couple
tougher
out
than
there.
You might think.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I gotta get my ramble. No, I don't want to ramble. That'll be bad.
Well, that's the thing. Even when you're not rambling and you're by yourself, you're like, who gives a fuck about what I'm talking about? I cut myself off
I
every time
know.
I
I
do
know.
that.
Yeah.
You'll find a flow.
No, I know. It's
That's the thing. You got to find your flow.
and starting something new is just always intimidating because you don't know what's going on. You don't.
It took me at least 125 episodes till I really felt like,
You got to flow.
yeah, like what's the flow? What's the context of the conversation? So it won't be perfect.
Yeah.
Maybe ever, but you know.
Hey, that's all right.
You'll find your
Small
voice.
iterations over time.
That's right.
all right.
Man, do I love Sherman the Booth. Oh, hey, I think you do too. Hope you enjoyed that piece of content. If you're looking for more, make sure to go to my YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any upcoming Sherman the Booth interviews, live sets, new music, exclusive artist interviews, Sherm's Word, sub-pack reviews, and more. This is your one-stop shop for everything entertainment. Cheers.